Hello and welcome back to the Gaming 5. I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that the Elite controller is quite proficient at Forza Motorsport 6. The bad news is that my British accent isn't. If there's one car brand that's seen mostly an absence in Forza Motorsport 6, it's Porsche. Perhaps that was on purpose, or perhaps licensing can be troublesome. Either way, there's plenty of Porsches here for you to rejig as you see fit. Furthermore, one new track is added as part of the expansion, Virginia International Raceway. However, the real meat and potatoes of the expansion is its progression. Once again, in somewhat backwards progress fashion, you are forced to go through the cars in a linear fashion. To mitigate this effect, it is done not like the regular game forcing you down the path of learning how to be fast, but instead to demonstrate the growth of Porsche through its history. This is admittedly a clever way to mask forced linearity, and I did learn a thing or two that I didn't know about Porsche before thanks to detailed dialogue outlining both cars and the company. If you know me though, you know I really hate having to drive slow cars, and all the portions of the Anthology really should have been open from the start. Eventually you do get there though, and when you do, you're in for a real treat. Sure, there's already a plethora of fast hypercars on tap, but driving a Porsche comes with its slightly but noticeably different physics. This learning curve brought me back in from my snowfest of driving slower cars, and I was right back in that enjoyable hot seat of enjoying cars I'll never own. The expansion comes with plenty of its own racing ecosystems for you to enjoy, including showcase events, and isn't short on overall content. While I tend to save the real racing segments for my steering wheel, know that I didn't feel shorted on the content side, as the attention to detail, history-driven presentation, and all the necessary fixings of content were present and accounted for. A racing sim such as this sees little in the way of major changes, and this DLC didn't bring with it any new mechanics, which is a bit of a bummer. Though, as a spoiler alert, the NASCAR expansion DLC, review incoming, does indeed add a new mechanic. In terms of non-developer changes, the drivatars have seen some change in behaviors over time. In short, drivatar behavior is categorized by driver behavior, and since the game has been out for a long time, you might find the overall behavior of drivatars to be surprisingly more aggressive. While absolutely unrealistic screwy chaos was present in the early days, it feels much more on purpose now than ever before. The Porsche DLC was labeled as an expansion, and in quite simple terms, it doesn't live up to that word. When all is said and done, the lack of any new mechanics and forced linearity holds the DLC back a bit. There's no denying the tender loving care put into the new Porsches is noteworthy, the dialogue history bits that do sometimes tickle the brain, and the new track that's surely worth memorizing. If you're into doing a thing with a car branded as a Porsche, then there's plenty here for you and it's worth its value in cost. Just be sure you already like the core game, because this expansion doesn't offer much else in experiences outside what you've already done. I give the Forza Motorsport 6 Porsche Expansion DLC a 7.5 out of 10. That's it for today. See you next time on the Gaming 5. I don't know what's worse, an Asian doing a British accent or the British accent itself.